Hey there, Squirrel Army. Today, we're here to talk about Sopandrel, Hunger Dominus. You can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing. So, the green Dominus, I was expecting perhaps a lot more from this because a lot of the cycles of green cards that we've gotten over the last few years have been a bit bonkers. So I was thinking that this would be a bit bonkers, but honestly, it's not that bad. And we're taking a different approach today with this one because unfortunately they haven't printed a friggin' English version, or they haven't shown an English version of this card yet. They definitely will at some point soon. But we're having to take this approach and look at this card to see what we're all up about. Reach is alright. That's a really good ability, especially in green. I do find that green has not quite enough reach things that are actually like really relevantly good on the board and whatnot. Like, yeah, there's only a couple of really good things. So, yeah, reach is quite nice. It is, 7 mana, so I don't know. That's fine, I guess. Doubling the power of each creature. Oh, doubling the power and toughness of each creature you control during each combat seems alright. So in a sense, well, this is an 8/12, and everything else that you've got is doubled. So it's like an 8, well, at least on combat, which is probably the most relevant time for the most part, at least in my opinion, is pretty good for 7. You know, like that's all right, especially like with reach again. That's really good. You have to sacrifice 2 other creatures to put an indestructible counter on it. I think that's pretty easy. And again, actually, it's not even as much mana as the other ones. Well, it's more mana initially, I guess. So that kind of makes up for it, I guess. But it's still just 4 life to make it indestructible and 2 creatures. I mean, you're just like in some token deck and you're just like, oh, okay, well, I'll, pop these tokens away into the graveyard, and oh, look, I've got an indestructible boy. Not to say that he's not really hard to deal with, probably anyway, as being a 8/12 for the most part, or if he's not an 8/12, he's a 4/6. So, like, there's not many, even there's not that many things that are creatures that 1,000% would deal with this, that, ETB fight type things or whatnot, things like that, or just deals damage to something or whatnot. So, yeah, that seems like it does get around a lot of things that you could think of, or what, like, I think, like, maybe the Omnath Elemental Burn would get it eventually. But yeah, still, that'd probably be alright. And it is until end of turn, so if your opponent doesn't do their thing before they go to combat, or like killing their tokens or whatnot, or trying to blow this thing up, it's gonna have 12 power after, or 12 toughness after your combat phase. So you're still going to have that. So if somebody goes to, Blasphemous Act is actually a bad example, actually. Blasphemous Act would still get it, but still, if you have anything else that's buffing it up, just even by 1 or 2, it would dodge Blasphemous. Well, it would dodge Blasphemous Act if it got buffed by 2. So that's insane. That's pretty insane. Like, that's not a huge ask, I would say, especially in green, which is, fairly well known for buffing its creatures. So I think this is a really good creature and a really good, like, set of effects, except for perhaps like just in a deck that has a whole bunch of 1/1s or whatever. If you're playing big boys and whatnot, you're probably very happy with this because it'll just like cause a semi overrun effect yes, your stuff won't get trampled, but you've got lots of ways to give it trample or flying or whatever. So still, I think, and a lot of green creatures just have trample naturally nowadays, so I don't think that's that big of a problem to have to, jump through that little hoop to give your stuff trample. So, yeah, I'm sure we can find ways to do that. But anyway, still, one of those things that you do have to slightly think about, I guess. But again, like, there are decks that wouldn't want it, I guess. But beyond that, I'm again thinking about this as a commander. 7 mana for your commander probably is pretty darn sad and bad. Like, Jetmir was one of those commanders that a lot of people talked about and sort of does sort of a similar-ish kind of thing. Basically gives your board double damage, or more or less thereabouts. So that's a really strong effect there on your commander. Unfortunately, yeah, 7 mana. And again, people can see what you've got in your command zone. They're not blind, and they can read what your card does. So they can see what's coming eventually, one of these days. But again, they can see it coming. So, they can plan around this. Oh, well, look out for his combat, because he's going to double the power and toughness of all of his creatures till end of turn. So don't let that happen, type thing. It's the same with Kamal. I like Kamal, but I think he's bad as the commander. I think he's good in the 99 because, again, he comes out and just like, oh, cool, I did a thing. I buffed up my stuff, and, oh, cool, if I need it next turn, buff again, whatnot, all of this sort of thing. So that's really powerful. It's a really powerful effect, certainly. It actually reminds me a fair bit of Kamal in that way, in that regard, now that I just sort of said his name and whatnot. But it's tough. It's tough because, again, Green would certainly have a lot of good ramp to get this out quicker and easier and whatnot, and also a lot of good creatures to play around with. And you do have some good artifact and enchantment removal, but that's about it. Well, and you've got the card draw and whatnot, but still, it's just one of those things that you've got mana, card draw, and good creatures, and maybe some artifact and enchantment removal. Beast Within's about the only kind of creature-ish removal you've got. So that's why I'm always hesitant about, these kinds of things. It's like, cool, I'm very, very strong in certain areas and incredibly weak in other areas. So, I'm always thinking, where's the downside? Like, that's why I always want to be in black or white, and white mostly, because white's just, like, so much better at black than black at, like, being a support color for the most part, I think. That's just me. I don't know whether that's 1,000% true, but I just find that a lot of the really good stuff is in white. So, but that's just me. But yeah, this is definitely a good card. You guys can always let me know what you guys think of this one. Writing your thoughts down there in those comments, and telling me again, do you want to see me build a deck around this? Because I will, no matter what I say in any of these videos and how I assess any of these commanders or any of these cards. If you say, hey, my squirrely dude, build a deck with this. Hey, I will. Okay. Because if people just watch these videos and seeing the analytics there on YouTube, I just think that people wanted to know if this is a cool card, maybe that you might want to put in the 99 or build a deck around or whatever. I don't know that people want to see a deck on it. If you guys tell me, hey, I want to see a deck on this, then I know. Helps me out, helps you out, gets more content out there that you actually want to see. But anyway, guys, hope you have enjoyed. Hope to catch you in the next one.